The Secret of the Mimic has a dark secret that you never saw coming, and it's going to change the FNAF franchise forever. And let me tell you, Jackie might be horrifying, but she's not even the worst part. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive into the story of Secret of the Mimic. The game begins as we're introduced to our protagonist for the first time. His name is Arnold, and he just got off a 36-hour shift, barely awake, and just struggling to keep his eyes open in general.
What? I can barely keep my eyes open.
When dispatch calls him in, Arnold can't even keep his truck from drifting off the road. However, dispatch claims he's the closest technician to a job that they need done right away. And even though Arnold pleads with the man to find another technician, dispatch insists that Arnold is the technician to do the job.
You can't fool me, though. You're just trying to snag one of those $25 gift certificates at the end of the year for outstanding performance.
And claims that he's just being humble and looking to get the $25 gift card at the end of the year. But that's when the truth is revealed. Arnold claims that the only reason he continues to put in these hours is because they've threatened to take his truck from him, and even worse, dock his pay along the way. And that's when dispatch begins to inform him of the job, claiming that there was a contractor by the name of Edwin Murray who's gone quiet and they don't know where he is. However, due to the contract that he had with Fazbear Entertainment, those scumbags are going to take everything that Edwin Murray has worked so hard for, whether he answers or not. The only problem is that security motion detectors keep picking up someone or something inside of the factory. So Arnold's job is to go recover all of the animatronics and then bring them back to Fazbear Entertainment. However, this problem might be a little more tough than he originally thought. Once arriving at the job's location, we get a glimpse at that very familiar Fazbear van, and dispatch explains that the only way to get inside the building is with this new diver tool. He explains that the data diver tool is used to get all around the building, serving as the master key. And so, we finally get out of the truck and head to the main entrance. Problem is, the main entrance seems to be blocked off, and an announcement claims that we need to enter in the side entrance of the building. The security obviously isn't very tight here, as you're able to just slide the lock open and walk through the gate. Once you make your way through the sketchy back entrance, you arrive at the side door. But this doesn't look like an ordinary side door. Instead, it almost looks like a main entrance. And that's when we hear Edwin Murray's voice for the first time, welcoming any potential buyers to Edwin Murray's Costume Manor, the leading powerhouse in innovation. Oddly enough though, it almost looks like the building was prepping for somebody to visit, as the door opens up and a show begins to play with all of the animatronics on display. Getting our first look at the animatronics, these things are magnificent. They look so realistic, and you can see the true craftsmanship of a master like Edwin Murray on full display. And the show itself is quite phenomenal. It almost reminds me of a Disney ride. It looks like we're off to a peaceful start until things haywire and the animatronics glitch out and eventually open the door in front of us. However, we can't quite fit through the crack that's left, and a red ominous light fills the room. Thankfully, we're able to crank a shaft and move one of the animatronics to enter into the side door of the display. Inside of this new part of the warehouse, you get to see some of the animatronics close and personal. There's all types of animal animatronics in here, some more familiar than the rest, including a couple of the ones that we've seen at the end of FNAF Ruin, as the Mimic was able to jump in and out of most of the suits. This place is immense, and it's actually quite stunning to see Edwin Murray's progression as a mechanic and a creator. The building barely seems to be holding on to power. However, thankfully, whoever was here last left generators around the building to open things like doorways. Once you make your way over to the first generator, you're able to crank it enough to open the door. The door itself leads to the office, and we get our first glimpse at the cameras as we start up the helper programming for the very first time. This thing is already loaded up with maps, exe files, and of course our objective, to recover the Fazbear property. Unbeknownst to us, however, dispatch is calling once again, and this time they're going to be a little bit more honest with Arnold. They level with him and tell him that something is still moving within the building, and that Edwin Murray might have made some neat things over the years, and unfortunately it seems that one of his most creative inventions may have encountered something even more dastardly. Dispatch explains that this endoskeleton that Edwin Murray was creating has homicidal tendencies and will attack anything or anyone around it. It also has the ability to adapt to any costume or character. Dispatch tries to reassure him that everything's going to be okay, and in the meantime, they're going to do their best to bring this endoskeleton down. They want Arthur to focus on the job at hand and not worry too much about this endoskeleton. But the last warning is chilling, as it claims that this entity could potentially be an inside of any costume or character that you see within the building. But we need to complete this job, so we jump back on the computer and check out some of the mail. Apparently, there was a man named Gary who said he was going to put the power back on inside of the building, and he was going to go check on it. But this man never came back. And let me tell you, something absolutely horrifying happened to Gary, but more on that in a little bit. There's also a security upgrade device inside of this room, and once you complete it, you're able to enter into doors with the diamond shape. That's exactly where we're going to be heading, back to the entrance that we came in. There is a diamond-shaped door that leads you to a room with an animatronic costume in it. But this animatronic costume doesn't have the mimic. It has a human's body stuffed within it, rotting with flies. This is a warning that this place is a lot more horrifying than we could have ever imagined. However, against all warning signs, we crank down this shaft, which reveals a minigame. This serves as the first puzzle within the game. We need to get the overflow to reach the end. Once completed, the power will turn on and Dispatch arrives once again. But something or someone has been watching us complete this puzzle the entire time, at the window right behind us. And now Dispatch wants us to leave the room that we're in and head back to that security office. But now he's picking up readings that the motion is getting closer to us. But once we get back to the office, he then explains that we need to find the original schematic for that same animatronic trying to kill us. And once we find it, they might be able to keep us alive. Sounds like a horrible deal, but the inventory system within the building also begins to turn active and gives us a crank system to open up the gate. And making our way over to the gate is exactly what we do at this moment. That's when things take a turn for the absolute worst though. Once you open up the gate, the elephant animatronic bursts through a box and begins to chase us at full speed. If you quickly dash inside of a locker and hide long enough, you can actually make your way around him and head through the same entrance that he just burst out of. This once again leads to an ominous hallway, and at the end of this hallway is a number pad, but more on that later as we head into the elevator. This elevator brings you up to the second floor, but right before you're about to get out, it glitches, halfway opening up the door, and someone is watching. However, you begin to make your way through it and head into one of the most terrifying rooms I've seen in the game to this point. And at the end of the room is a giant jack-in-the-box. And if you crank it up, Jackie will pop out. Thankfully though, it looks like the mimic hasn't taken over Jackie's body just yet, and we're able to pull the crank off of this same jack-in-the-box and use it for another gate within the building. Once the gate is cranked open, we head down this hallway and into a new room. And inside of the room, we meet the Digityper, a Helpbot-like animatronic created by Edwin Murray. The bot continues to yap on, explaining that he can do deliveries, shred papers, and everything in between. But what we're most focused on is the generator in the room. The generator seems harmless enough, and we begin to crank it. However, once you get close to cranking it fully, Jackie pops into the room, chasing you. And at this point, we're as good as dead, backed into the corner, and Jackie is looking right at us. As a matter of fact, she's so dead set on killing us that she rips her body in half in the process. And just when we think it's all over, she turns on the Digityper and crushes him to oblivion, throwing him into the wall and allowing us to escape. I guess you can say he was more helpful than we ever would have thought, as the floor crumbles beneath us, sending us into the depths of the factory. And just when you thought we left Jackie in the dust, she begins to pop up all around us, her long extended arms almost grabbing us as we run by her, relentlessly chasing us, claiming she wants to give us a birthday hug. Nothing and no one can stop her. She continues to chase us underneath, through vents, everything in between, until we finally reach the vent ourselves, making our way into a new room, and things go quiet until Jackie drops down in front of us. Luckily for us, we close the door and it slams her in between it. She seems to be trapped at this moment, but once again, this animatronic is absolutely relentless in its pursuit to kill us. And after cranking up the generator, we're back inside of a wider vent system, and Jackie is still right on our tail, this time grabbing us. Luckily for us, she falls through the vent system and we collapse ourselves back into the office. And that's where we're left off for now, but the mimic isn't done in his pursuit to kill us. Arnold is going to have special ties between whatever is going on between Fazbear Entertainment and Edwin Murray. And my theory is that Edwin Murray is going to be located somewhere within this building, as he's only gone quiet from Fazbear Entertainment. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's dead. I believe he's going to play a vital role, not only in the fact that he created all these animatronics, but in the game itself, possibly serving as the mastermind, trying to release his most beautiful creation and keep it out of the filthy hands of the Fazbear Entertainment workers. But ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up for now. Hopefully you enjoyed this first part of the story explained, and I guarantee you I'll be back with the rest of the story very, very soon. Anyways, thank you again for all the love and support, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace out!